Hi, I'm Drew, a drag queen living in LA with my husband, my dog, and a little too much confidence.
I'm Grant. I live in Florida with my wife and 4 children. I also have a dog. I have 2 dogs, and I'm a former pastor.
Brag.
And I don't have any confidence.
Listen, I love how these tables have turned, okay? To quote Adele.
I used to be so fucking confident. Oh,
I know, it
gosh.
sucks. On this episode of Twinnuendo, we talk about Dragcon. We do a little Dragcon wrap-up.
I also say the phrase cognitive dissonance a lot. Probably maybe
100
too much.
times. And very exciting.
Cognitive dissonance.
We got our first voicemail. Well, we listened to it. We've gotten a lot of them. Thank you for those. Anyway, enjoy this episode. Hello. Welcome to Twinnuendo. I'm Drew, the gay one. Did I fuck it up again?
You did it again.
Fuck. What am I supposed to say?
Just say
I'm
you're
Drew
gay.
and I'm gay. Okay, sorry. Sorry, I've had to deny myself for so long.
Maybe you're not gay anymore.
Okay, hang on. Hi. I'm Drew, and I'm gay. I did it.
And I'm Grant, and I'm not. We
Cool.
did it. That took
No more
a lot.
takes.
No one's gonna see it, but that was a lot of takes to get
That was
through
stellar. All right, brother, how are you? Brother,
Well,
how art thou? You see what I did there?
that. Well, I live in Florida, as you know. We are on day 5 of no air conditioning, so
What?
I'm very sweaty. Yeah, our AC went out this weekend, and it has been a nightmare. We've had multiple AC people come out. Basically, they're gonna have to replace the unit, but there's no end in sight. Maybe 2 more days before they can get it replaced. We have like window units and stuff, but it is rough. So I am recording the podcast Winnie the Pooh style. Like I don't have pants on.
Sure.
So
Yeah, Donald
if you
Duck,
could
sure.
take yours off too, because I feel a little exposed now.
Okay, I have to say, I love that you thought I was wearing them. That's cute.
Do we
That's
have
cute.
an under the table camera for Patreon yet? Have we set that up
Yeah,
yet?
technically it's OnlyFans, and
Oh, okay.
the only person subscribed to that is your wife. So I do think she's
Yeah,
gonna get
she
quite a treat this
Hates
week.
it. She hates
I
it.
can't imagine she likes it.
I do have good news. So it's hot in my house, but I recently
You got a pool.
looked.
Oh,
I did. Watson's. I recently looked at our podcast
Porn.
downloads.
oh,
Yep, I'm watching it right now. That's how I get through this every week. I was looking at our podcast downloads, and from Apple Podcasts, do you know what the number 1 city is that downloads our podcast? It's a major city, the number 1 city. What
that
would be your
downloads
guess?
Our podcast.
The number 1 city that downloads our podcast. And it's on only Apple Podcasts. I don't know Spotify. I don't know any of that. But so just, what do you think it is?
Denver,
Man, that was very close. London.
Texas,
England.
the UK.
All
That
right.
didn't surprise me.
All
That was
right,
gonna be my
governor.
second guess. That was going to be my second guess.
So can we talk
Yeah,
like that
we
the
have a
rest of the
lot
time?
of-
All right, governor.
I wish you wouldn't. We have a lot of
Pip,
UK IMHO girlies, so I'm not surprised by that. And
I was
they're
surprised.
getting to hear how trauma in America really is done. I think
What do
we're
you think traumatizes them? Their bad food?
the Queen. The Queen did, and then she died.
She's not
And
traumatizing
then
them anymore.
Charles
Her
became
ghost
the
is.
king, and his fingers are so big. They're so much bigger than they should be.
They're engorged with
Liquid.
the country's wealth.
The tears of the country.
The tears of the country. London, we stand
Well,
with
that's
you.
exciting.
I know,
What do
it's
you-
really
so
exciting.
you can look at things on Apple. What do you get statistics?
Yeah, you can check out on Apple. It'll show you who's downloading it, where they're downloading it from. Not who, like I don't know your names. I'll find them out. I'll find them out.
He doesn't have a
But
job.
I don't know them
remember?
at the moment. But
Right.
yeah, it show us all the cities and everything. But yeah, London's leading. Which, fun fact, that is a number 1 place I want to visit on this planet.
That is sorry.
London's number 1.
I love it. I love the UK. Don't get me wrong. But if everywhere in the world,
Yeah,
you want to go
I
to
wanna go to London.
London,
I want to go real bad. That's where I want to go. The
everywhere
history,
in the
Drew.
world.
The history. And I'm going to wear red, white, and blue the whole time. I'm going to ask everybody, hey, you guys remember 1776? You know, they love that. Oh, my gosh, they love it.
Oh,
And
wait.
it's gonna be
I
awesome.
forgot. You live in Florida. Okay, London to you is like Thailand to everyone else. It's so exotic. I'm sorry. You're right. London does sound fun for you.
It's not
Absolutely.
exotic. It's just there's a lot of history there. I like history.
Well,
I like history of things.
Alexis and I have discussed going to Dragcon UK in the London.
Carry your bags. I'll carry your bags.
Well, you did such a good job at Dragcon LA. I thought maybe Dragcon UK would be your next opportunity.
I'm pretty good at the cash register.
You stood the whole time. That
it only took me turning 40, and now here I am on a cash register. I did it, Mom. She's not listening to this.
You didn't get to keep any of the money.
Well,
awkward.
everyone paid in cash. You never saw that, so thank you to those people. Tip of the hat.
You told me that
London
cash. We don't do cash anymore.
We don't do cash. We don't because COVID gets on it. And Apple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we don't.
Well, that's actually a great transition. Trans rights.
Ally.
We did do Dragcon LA together, and I have yet to get your reaction. We were going to do that on my birthday over on IMHO's Patreon. We had a little birthday podcast planned, and patrons were so excited, and we were just so excited to like finally have Grant be there live, you know. And then right before we started, he's like, "I'm sick. I have Meniere's disease," and I was like, "Okay."
I didn't really reference the Meniere's disease, but that is what I sound like when I get sick. Drew, I'm sick.
Okay, you don't sound great when you're sick.
It's like molasses falling out. No, I sound terrible when I'm sick.
Yeah.
I'm a huge baby.
Yeah.
I almost always get sick when I get on airplanes.
Yeah,
but
we all do.
I'm not wearing a mask.
But
you know why?
I won't wear
Freedom.
A mask. I won't wear a mask.
You know what I mean?
And you want me to wash my hands every day?
You snowflakes. Yeah. Why are your hands so dirty from doing bad stuff for the Democrats?
Speaking of dirty hands, dirty hearts.
Yeah.
Today, Curtis. So last week, Curtis served Nas. You know the rapper Nas.
Remind me, Curtis, one more time. He lives near you.
Oh God, how do I put this? Grant, I'm glad you're sitting down. I wish you had air conditioning because this is really gonna fuck you up.
It's gonna get steamy.
I'm married to him. Curtis is my husband. I am a man married.
No, hang on.
To marriage. A man. I know.
Created by God.
I know.
One man, one woman, unless that woman gets a little mouthy, you find another one. But two men?
No, we don't do it right. I'm not saying it's good.
Right. But
it's just that's what it is. No, but today he posted a little fun story because so last week
he served Nas. He's a big hip hop fan, which I'm sure if you listen to IMHO, do they know that? Is that a thing you guys talk about?
I mostly talk about his Disco Biscuits, Fish, Grateful Dead. I call them, like, to me, that's his negatives, okay? So when I'm going through, like, he's got so many positive qualities, okay?
Right.
Fish is not one of them. I'm just kidding. Actually, I had a wonderful time. I went to see Fish at the Hollywood Bowl with Curtis, and I got really high, and I had no idea what was happening.
Yeah,
USA.
I mean, but if you get high at the Hollywood Bowl, you could probably sit through a Trump rally. Like, you could probably have a good time anywhere if you're high.
Okay, first of all, I only do Trump rallies sober. Okay, I want to remember every moment. So that's really messed up that you would say that. Actually, we just went to the Hollywood Bowl this week. We went to see my mother-in-law's in town. You probably love your mother-in-law.
You probably love your mother-in-law.
My mother-in-law's in town. She's actually in the room right now. So if I'm not saying what I actually want to say, that's the reason. She says that she's not listening, but I know she's listening. I can tell because her farts have stopped. But we went to the Hollywood Bowl to see Tchaikovsky, to do the LA Philharmonic or whatever, the orchestra. And they did Tchaikovsky. You know the da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na, boom, boom. That's Tchaikovsky. And they did it. You don't have to. I mean, they did it with fireworks.
I listened to
over
Creed
the Hollywood
and I listened
Bowl.
to Tchaikovsky.
They did it with fireworks over the Hollywood Bowl, like that went in time. It was amazing. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But back to today. Nas last week, okay? And then today, we went to the Santa Monica's Farmers Market, and my mother-in-law's in town. Did I forget to tell you? And
you love her.
We're walking down. This guy passes, like Curtis is talking about, I don't know, vegetables. And this guy walks right past us. And I was like, I think that was a Beastie Boy. It was just this like little older man with like a little cart, and he
had a real Beastie energy to him.
I could tell that he could spit a rhyme or two. And Beastie Boys is a big Curtis thing. Curtis loves the Beastie Boys.
He loved
and
he admitted
he loved the Beastie Boys.
He loved the Beastie Boys.
Anyway, he walks right past, but Curtis didn't say anything, so I was like, maybe that's not him. Plus, I thought he was taller. Like, probably wasn't him. And I was like, no, if I don't tell Curtis I think it might be him, and it isn't, I'll regret it. And so I said, Curtis. I says to my husband, I says this. I says, Curtis. I says, Curtis.
You says.
That was a Beastie Boy. And he said, what? And I said, that man was a Beastie. He's a Beastie man now, but he was a Beastie Boy. And Curtis went chasing down. It was him. I saw a Beastie Boy. So anyway,
did
Curtis
he take a picture? What did he do? He just fist bumped?
Well, he just said, okay. We've had this conversation before, but like, you know, in LA, you run into celebrities, so you don't really approach celebrities for the most part.
Here we go.
But
I live in LA. I see celebrities all the time, and it's no big deal to me anymore.
You see Joey Fatone.
I do see Joey Fatone. He lives here. I do see that guy.
That's incredible. And I would never pretend that I see him.
You don't need anybody else.
Not when you got the Fatone. So usually in LA, you know, as a local, we just don't talk to celebrities. We let people just kind of like live their lives. But if you see like someone that has meant so much to you your entire life, you're gonna say hi. And Curtis is super chill, and he's super cool, and he had a tote bag filled with vegetables, so he looked very chill.
Yeah.
And he was just like, hey,
chillest way to look.
He actually called him by his first name, which I think startled him. Instead of like, hey, you're the Beastie Boy, he was like, hey, Mike. And so the guy turned around, and Curtis was just like, hey, man, just wanted to say hi. Like, your music means so much to me. And he was like, oh, okay.
That was it?
Mm-hmm. And then Curtis was like, all right, have a great day. Just want to say hi, whatever. But that's why we don't say hi to celebrities in LA. But I'm so happy he said hi.
That's
a big deal.
I have an alternative story to that that goes against what you just said, which is when I landed in LA, I saw Derek Waters.
With a dream and a cardigan?
And a cardigan. I saw Derek Waters from Drunk History that I watch with my children. They love it.
The guy. The one who does it. Okay.
Yeah. And so he was on my plane. He was coming back from Disney World. We were at the carousel, and I was like, I'm going to say something because my kids are excited. Like, I texted them and said, hey, he's on my plane. And they're like, you got to get a picture with him. So I was like, I just said, Derek.
Do you have a group chat with your kids?
Yeah.
What do you mean? It's like everybody? There's a family chat?
Yeah.
Do they have a group chat without you?
Oh, no. No.
Can you read their messages?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. Can we bookmark that for next podcast? I want to know everything about raising children in this modern world.
That's the deal is like I had a whole dad speech about the tension between security, the trade-offs of security and freedom. And for security, we trade certain freedoms. And so I'm like, we have
to have guns.
You want this phone, which is great, but it also gives people who aren't great access to you. And so to give you security, I got to take away some of that freedom. So you can't keep secrets on there. There's a lot of different things we do. We'll talk about it another time. But
yeah, shut up.
But I texted them, which our group chats are very, very funny. To me, they're very, very funny. The kids are unhinged, and it's a really wild place. So maybe
do they say
I'll
fart?
Post some. Oh yeah. Oh,
they send poop emojis, and everyone
when
laughs.
one of them tells a joke that they think is really funny, and they don't get a response. It's the worst. They're crestfallen because they just put their best material out there.
Grant, it's emotionally neglectful.
Maybe on Instagram I'll post some screenshots. There's some very funny moments in there. Anyway, I told the kid, so I said Derek, and he did the same thing. He was like, he looked at me like, do I know you? And I just said, hey man, your show means so much to me. Drunk History. I watch it with my kids. I texted them when I saw you on the plane, and they're like, you gotta say something to him. And he could not have been nicer. And he kept doing this. He kept going, oh, yes, thank you.
The praying hands.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
That's like Curtis's go-to move when it's when he's bowing after a play. He puts his hands together and he's like...
He was so kind and so genuine and so sweet. And he kept, he did that thing. I'm sure you've had this with celebrities before, where you think they're just trying to get out of the conversation, so you keep giving them outs. I kept giving him outs, so I was like, so I just had to say something, and he was like, oh, so where are you coming from? Just that extra 30 seconds. Yeah. I was like,
it's so nice.
It's so nice.
But you saw him. You saw him before you got on the plane, and you didn't approach him until baggage check, which I think is really nice.
I'd never really cared when I see celebrities. If I ever saw, usually it was sportsmen. It was people you don't know. But when I would see sportsmen, like in Memphis, I'd see Grizzlies players and stuff. I would just yell at them from a distance. I just wanted them to turn their head and look at me, and that was all I wanted. So I've never really cared, but when I started talking to you, you made me think about like, oh yeah, if there is someone I would like to meet, I've got to find the right moment. Like I can't just bust up their dinner or whatever. So they were like trying to find the gate. That's not the time.
I actually did get pushed away.
Me think about it. By who?
I didn't have to give them an out. Their mom pushed me out this morning. We were on our way to the farmer's market. Okay?
This morning?
It's like 9 a.m. I don't know what time we left. Anyway, but it's early in the morning, right? And we're at a stoplight, and I see this little funny faggot TikToker that I love, like walking by with his mom. And he's so funny. I don't remember his name or anything about him. I just know he does skits where he's like a Southern mom, and he's selling, like he's in an MLM, and his kids are named Bailey Grace. Anyway, but I just think he's so funny. I know what a thrill I get as someone on TikTok and internet, like faux celebrities, if you will. I get such a thrill. So my first thought was like, let me scream hello. Like, let me scream I love you, because I know it'll make his day. Come on. Like, if it doesn't make your day, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah, why are you on TikTok if you don't want to connect with people?
If you don't want people screaming at you from the road. Yeah. So anyway, so I roll my window down and I scream, oh my God, hi, I love your TikTok. And he turns around and smiles. He's like, oh, thank you. And I was like, you're so fucking funny. And I didn't consider the fact that like the woman next to him was his mom, because as soon as I said,
because they were kissing on the mouth.
So fucking funny. His mom turns around and goes, have a good day. Have a good day. And I don't know. I panicked and just so like loudly so that she could hear me as I'm rolling the window up. I'm like, not her telling me to go away. And then my mother-in-law's like, no, she said have a good day. And I was like, no, I know, but like she was telling me go away.
Maybe it was your coarse and foul language. Maybe you offended her.
Absolutely, that I said the F word, God forbid, from traffic. But you're
it's
in
wrong.
LA, baby. That's what we do here.
That one word
we
is
ignore
wrong.
Celebrities and we say the F word at stoplights. That's what we do. Anyway, let's circle back.
Oh yeah, Dragcon.
Yeah, we had brought. I did an incredible trans rights of Dragcon earlier, and then we got sidetracked. Oop, we got bar redacted. Apologies. So you were in Dragcon LA. It's your first event with a bunch of gay people. You were surrounded by queer people
that you know of.
And, well, that you're willing to talk about publicly. And I'm not talking about conversion therapy or conversion camp. I'm talking about...
we surrounded them, all right? Like, we surrounded them.
That's true.
Because if you're going to pray it out, you got to pray it out from all angles.
Exactly. Christian love. Anyway, so I just wanted to know, what was it like? What was it like coming from such a background, such a church, and then you're in gay? What was it like?
There were less Bibles there than I was used to.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the only conferences I've ever been to are church conferences.
Ooh.
From when I was a kid all
That's
the way
dark.
up to now. Like the only time I've ever been to a conference, they've been church conferences. So everyone is pretending to be nice to each other, and there's
that's kind of queer too.
There's a lot of booths that are all selling like Bibles and Christian books and accoutrement with, like, I mean, there was a Bible software that I used to have that was like several $1,000s.
What is it? What did it do?
A lot. It basically gave you a giant digital library of commentaries and dead white men's opinions on stuff. It had Greek and Hebrew and Aramaic and all that.
Like, I gotta say, Grant, as I'm hearing more and more about the life you've lived as a pastor, well, I won't be stopped. As a pastor, you really were living a nightmare. I'm really sorry.
I was happy for a while. I was happy for a while.
You were?
I think one of the weird things about it, when I look back on it, is I guess this is true for a lot of people's lives. Well, I was just going to say, like, one of the things that I liked about Dragcon that's very different from all the Christian stuff I used to go to was everyone seemed very much themselves. They seem very sincere, no matter what they were presenting as. You know what I mean? Like, no matter if...
Like a freak?
No. Like, I certainly don't have the right to use that language. So, no. But, like, no matter if it was a dad who brought his child to meet you and he's, like, wearing his Oakland Raiders stuff and he just looked like a bro, and like no matter if it was him all the way up to like the different queens that were there to the guys that were across from us selling jock straps.
Hi.
And I would have thought, by the way, they would have groomed their asses better. Is that a thing? Do people like hairy asses?
Oh, Grant.
I was surprised by that.
Grant, you have so much to learn.
People like that though? That's a thing?
You have so much to learn.
Just tell me yes or no. I'm not Googling it.
Not only do we as queer people, not only do we get to live more authentically out loud, but we also get to live more authentically with our butts. Yeah. Some people are super into hair. Hair's beautiful. Okay. A hair is still a hair, even if it's growing down there.
It was surprising. But my point is, there were...
Your idea of gay men's bodies is truly a stereotype from Sex and the City, 1998.
First off, I just started Sex and the City. No spoilers. I'm halfway through episode 1. I'm a busy
Carrie's
person.
The worst.
I can't.
Carrie's terrible. I'm so sorry. It doesn't get better.
Don't tell me. No spoilers. Truly, though,
Big
all
dice.
jokes aside, the thing that I loved was... people were so sincere. And there was a part of going to all these Christian conferences, there was like an accepted amount of walling yourself off. Does that make sense? Every single one of us, if I had to guess, now obviously I can only speak from my experience, but I think I'm pretty spot on. I think all of us, we're so worried about being on the wrong team and believing the wrong thing, because Christianity's all religion really is all about who's in and who's out, right? It's a power game. So who's in and who's out?
Or you're out.
Exactly. And so we're worried that we're going to believe the wrong thing, say the wrong thing. And so when you show up to one of those places, everyone has a part of themselves walled off. It's just the way that it is. And
would you say it's like the walls of Jericho, and you were just hoping they'd come tumbling down?
I'm not familiar with that. What is that from?
Joshua fought the Battle of Jericho.
And so, like, Dragcon was not that. I didn't feel like I had to pretend I was something that I wasn't. I didn't feel like I had to wall off a part of myself. Like, I could just go and experience it, and I could just meet people where they were, and they could meet me where I am. And that was not how the church was, and that was not how those Christian conferences were.
What? It wasn't?
Listen, someone in the comments talked about going to a youth conference in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, which is what we used to do. It's where my wife and I actually started dating, Gatlinburg, Tennessee, on a youth trip. But they talked about it.
What did you do on the bus on the way back? You have to say.
What do you mean? No.
You and Angela were so horny. You're the
really
horniest Christians.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
All Christians are horny. We're teenagers.
Teenage Christians.
She had that.
Stop.
That ass.
Stop.
You know what I'm saying?
Stop.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-mm.
So, anyway, they said in the comments, they were like, did you go to this big conference? And as you know, Drew, we were a mega church, so we always did our own thing. And I was always jealous
because we could make more money that way.
Well, it's not only that, yes, money, but also control, because 3 doors down from us was this giant conference going on that we could have been a part of, and all the bands we had listened to. Third Day, Caedmon's Call,
Skillet,
Mercy Me, Skillet, Chris Tomlin,
Dare You the Moon,
Switchfoot. All of those were 3 doors down. Why couldn't we go be a part of it? And here's why.
3 Doors Down is a secular band. It's a trap.
Something to think about. Aren't they from Memphis? Anyway.
I don't know.
No, 311. So
311, they won the Oscar for Hard Out Here for a Pimp, beating out Dolly Parton. She's never won an Oscar. Go ahead.
It's not 311. I think you're thinking of 3-6 Mafia.
You said 311.
311's a band. You said
311.
You said 311 did Whoop That Trick. 3-6 Mafia did whoop that trick. They're from Memphis as well.
I said hard out here for a pimp, and 311 is just made up. You made that up. It's not a real thing. And
3-6 Mafia did hard out here for a pimp.
Correct.
Right?
What did you say? Yeah, I'm right.
No,
I agree. Keep going. No,
you said 311 did that song.
I don't want to dig too deep into this because I don't want you to be embarrassed while you're also hot.
3-6
You don't have air conditioning.
Mafia.
Grant, don't do this to yourself.
Listen, ever since I can remember, I've been popping my collar. Popping my collar. Anyway, so here's why we didn't go to that conference. We didn't go because they said they couldn't control what we're being taught in that conference. So just think about that for a second.
I love that.
We are all evangelicals. We're all just a bunch of, honestly, just a ton of white kids from suburbs around Tennessee who listen to the same shitty bands, whose churches use the same stuff that they get from like all these Lifeway Christian retailers, right? But they were afraid that they were going to say the wrong thing. Like, what is the wrong thing? But it's always about control. It's always about who's in and who's out. And that becomes a part of you. When you're in an organization like that, it becomes a part of you. And so, honestly, back to Dragcon, that was missing. Like, at Dragcon, obviously, like, there's always going to be some sort of cultural pressure in any culture that you're in. However, there wasn't some overarching controller. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, this is you, this is you, this is me.
Just a little. DJ RuPaul was mere feet away from us, and
we had to bow to her between songs.
Yeah, while she was up there, I did feel a little.
Though. Her name was on everything.
Yeah. I agree.
Mean, without her, so honestly, it was great. Again, it was great to experience, like to see, but it was also great to experience. To be like, oh yeah, this is me.
A bill.
Here I am.
A bill on Capitol.
I'm just
this
a bill.
This is me. So let me tell you about your experience from my perspective. All right, let's begin.
I don't like that, but okay.
I was so excited for you to come to Dragcon. For those of you who don't know what Dragcon is a conference for drag queens.
This has been a very confusing 15 minutes.
You ever been to
if
Comic-Con?
You don't know.
It's like that, but less attended. Anyway, I was really excited for
you
to come because thank you so much. And I appreciate you for recognizing that we are huge in the culture, culturally significant.
Oh, okay. Wait, are you talking about IMHO or are you talking about queer people?
Grant, listen, I've had a really hard couple weeks, okay?
I was going to compliment you and say that you incredibly underestimated your influence at Dragcon.
No.
It was nuts. IMHO was
and that can all be traced back to our childhood, and we need to talk about it. No, I was really excited for you to come to Dragcon. I really was. And I was just excited also to have you out of your den of iniquity. As someone who, I work from home, sorry to burst the bubble. This is not a studio. I know this backdrop is gorgeous.
Wow. You're really pulling back the curtain.
Thank you. So it's right there. But I know how isolating it can feel working from home or being stuck at home all day. It's something I struggle with. And then on top of that, your entire life was ripped away from you and everyone told you were disgusting and silly. And that could not have felt
Those were the only two words they used. There's just constantly, you silly, silly, disgusting man.
I gotta be honest, had I grown up and people said that homosexuality was silly instead of disgusting, I think I'd be a doctor right now.
You'd have gone the other way.
Absolutely. I'd be a straight doctor. I would just do vaginoplasties. Be it. Anyway, so...
when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
I was so excited for you to come, but I was also a little nervous just because I didn't know if anyone would care that we were there, and I felt like I was bringing you all the way out here. It'd be your first, experience in this, very queer space. And I was like, oh, God, what if it's just us standing around? So I was very relieved when we were busy, so that it did seem...
It was
kind of neat.
Insanely busy.
It was just really fun to see you. I don't know. I think through this podcast, we're both learning a lot more about each other's experiences, but it truly was surreal having you there. It was so bizarre. It was so...
Yeah, it was truly a low point for me. I couldn't believe that's where I ended up. But
okay,
so
fine.
surreal.
You owe me some
surreal.
money then. Then suddenly your plane costs money. Isn't that strange? No, it was just
Derek
when
Waters
we reconnected, I'd already like not been talking to anyone in our family for like a long time. So just reconnecting with you was exciting. And then the church thing dying, it burning down was exciting. And then
it didn't burn.
To then have you come here and be so supportive, but so in the middle of it and so much a part of it was really exciting. Oh, I didn't mean that. That was fine.
I was the merch guy.
I just meant that you were
that
you were there and you were so active in it. And
I think it's wild. It was surreal to be there. I think too we're very similar, not just with our noses, but I think we're very similar in that, like we're both creative, we're both funny and fun. Did you hear that?
What was that? A child?
That's Max playing video games, and he loses his mind. And so I told him, "Don't you dare make a sound while I'm recording this podcast."
He gets that from his grandpa.
Yeah, Dad loves his video games. He's always on them. So it was surreal to be there because I think we're very similar, not just the way that our noses look, but we're very similar like personalities. We're both fun-loving. We're both funny people, witty people. We're creative. But
tired. We're so tired.
I did that. You went this way with it, and I went this way with it, right? So you became a mildly mediocre success in the drag community. I became a horrible disappointment in the church community. Just huge embarrassment, honestly, at the end. But I was doing a win. But I was doing the same things you were doing. Like I was being creative. I was communicating. I was,
You were on stage. You were talking in a voice that wasn't yours.
I was always tucked. I was always tucked when I was on stage.
Do you want to do your pastor voice for everybody?
Shut up, dude.
It's so good. It's true. You had a pastor voice. You did.
It's a public speaking voice.
It was your wig.
Everyone who speaks publicly for a living, you don't just get up there and go like, "Hey, it's me." You project. You have a voice. Someone help me out here.
I'll do
People
it.
who are listening, if you're a public speaker,
I'll do it. Okay, here we go.
All right, go for it. I would always start leaning over like that.
I have to warm up. Hang on. Let me go through all of the Bible verses.
Do you know what to say? You don't know anything about the Bible.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not the one talking. It's God. God talks through me, so I don't have to.
I used to say that. I used to say that all the time.
Okay.
So I introduce myself to people.
Good morning. Sorry, that was goofy. That was goofy.
It puts the lotion on its skin. Yeah, no.
That was goofy. No, but you have this like I'm not gonna get it right.
Every public speaker does. I think I know what you're saying. Every public speaker does.
Mama. It was drag. That was drag.
I'm telling you, every public speaker does. I think if you listen to someone give a TED talk and then you talk to them in person, it's going to sound different. You project, you've got a voice, whatever.
Have you ever watched Monica Lewinsky's TED talk? I'm obsessed with her. I love her.
What is she talking about?
About what she went through and about kindness and surviving bullying. And it's so incredible. Follow her on Twitter. She's so funny. Monica Lewinsky, wild. I think, is one of the most incredible human beings to live because of the garbage that we put her through when in all honesty she was the victim, and then we just shit into her open mouth. And then to see the rise of Trump and everyone's clutching their pearls, or these Christians are coming to a sex offender's defense, but then we're over here just shitting all over her. And now she's thriving. And she's good for her. She's so funny and so intelligent, and I'm her biggest fan. Anyway, all this to say, please come on the show. Thank you for listening, Monica. Please come on the show sometime. I love you. No, for Monica, real. I'm your biggest fan. Obsessed. Anyway, so I just want to quickly wrap this up because we do have voicemails we have to get to. But and this will obviously, as this podcast continues, we'll get further into this. It's just, obviously now that you're out of the church, it's a lot easier to know how you feel about my lifestyle. My lifestyle choices. Okay. But when you were a pastor, no matter how supportive you were to me as a human being, because you always have been, there have been bumps in the road. I remember I shared a documentary with you, and I was like, I think it makes a lot of good points that like homosexuality isn't actually in the Bible. I think it's, and you said, I watched it and I've tried so hard. And we had this long conversation where you said you've prayed about it, you've read books. You, more than anyone, you want to believe that it's not wrong, but it is wrong. And that was years ago. That was years and years ago.
Or weeks. Had to be at least a few weeks ago. At
least a couple days.
Yeah.
But that was probably the last time I had talked to you directly about like your beliefs and like me being gay. Everything else was just kind of a, hey, do you want to come to the wedding? Like that. We just never directly talked about it. So then to have you in that world and having not really further kind of delved into those kind of feelings, I felt like 100 feet tall. I can't express to you how alone I have felt in our family my entire life, and just completely cut off from everyone my entire life. Just, I've always been othered by the people who are supposed to love me. And it was the first time that I lived fully, like you were saying earlier, fully and completely myself with a family member around. That has just never happened. And that was, It was, ugh, God, this sounds so gay. But
it's super, this is really gay. I'm really uncomfortable.
It is, I know, you're going to have to read the Bible.
Sports.
It is it's very healing. Just you being there was healing. It was super incredible. It also made me hate our sister a little more, because where the fuck was she? Amanda.
There is, for anyone living in the modern world.
Ooh, here we go.
And has
Mark Zuckerberg, get ready. And we're coming for you.
They're also trying to hold on to a faith that is trying to restrict people's self-expression of any kind. You have to live with a cognitive dissonance. You have to split your mind between the two. So, like, I would tell people, if you have family members where, if Drew just described that conversation we had many years ago, and you said, I've had that conversation, understand that they are not a fully integrated person. I wasn't. And I mean, that's why I say, like, my goal for my children is just to be complete people. I want them to be happy and whole, because I wasn't really whole. Because my experiences told me one thing, and that's the insidious things about churches. You had a hole. Is that they teach you to not trust yourself, and don't trust the world around you. Don't trust how you view the world, because that's what the Bible says. The heart's deceitfully wicked above all things. Who can know it? Like, okay, so I can't trust my heart.
There we go. I was waiting for you to say that. I love that verse.
Whereas, but at the same time, Psalms tells you that you can perceive who God is by observing the world around you. So which one is it? So you have to live with this cognitive dissonance. So I would say, like, in those days, Drew, my love for you was just as deep. My affection for you was just as deep. But this disconnection that I had, I couldn't love you fully like you needed me to love you, because I couldn't love anyone fully. I couldn't love myself fully. I was this split human being. And honestly, like, for hope for people out there who have family members who they're disconnected from, and it's basically religious based, that divide is untenable. And they will either, unfortunately, they'll calcify into some awful, discordant human being, or
they'll die.
Okay, I was going to go the hopeful way. Or
so there's three options.
Or that separation, that pain, they'll have to do something about that pain. They'll either become more of an asshole, unfortunately, or they'll be like, I'm not going to live like this anymore. And I'm so grateful that I went through what I went through, because it made me address that pain. I went to a therapist and I was like, well, I've said this one thing and I believe this other thing, and I don't know what to do with all this or whatever. And I mean, basically it was just this realization that I had this gap, like, between who I wanted to be and who I thought I was. And I had all these false beliefs, and truly it's just cognitive dissonance. And so that divide will cause pain in the people that you love, And they will either follow that pain to a place of becoming more entrenched
JB.
in their awfulness.
Sorry, my dog was eating her butthole on the couch. She was having her own dissonance issues.
Or they'll face that pain and they'll make the right choice. And they'll say, I want to be a whole person. And so, like, those people in your life, my hope is that they face that pain, because they will. They have to face that pain one day. And I hope that they say, you know what, I actually want to be something else. And so, I've told you a million times off the podcast, but on the podcast, like, it's obviously I love you so much, and I'm so sorry for ever making you feel like I didn't. And I'm sorry that I couldn't love you the way you needed to be loved. And I had done it to myself. I had split myself, not in a fun way. And, that's what this experience has been. It's been trusting myself for the first time and trusting the way I view the world and going, you know what? I can actually say that this is good. I can see it's good and I can call it good. You know what I mean? Like, whereas, again, in the Christian world, we'd always quote the end of the book of Judges, which, Drew, I don't need to tell you. You know what it says.
Oh, my God, I love that one. Yeah.
And everyone did what was right in their own eyes.
Hey, judges.
That's
what
how
y'all
it ends.
doing?
It ends with, like, isn't this the worst? Everyone decided what was good for themselves. And that's, like, a terrible, awful thing. And that's the way the church teaches you to think. And so getting away from that and being like, you know what? Curtis saved Drew's life. And I think Drew's probably saved Curtis's life in some way. And they're better together. They're more loving people. They're more whole people. They make people around them better because they're together. That's a good thing. Like, that's heaven on earth. Why the fuck would I say split that shit up? Like, how would that be helpful? That's good. I can see it with my own eyes. It's good. So,
you cried at our wedding.
I did. I was so upset.
You did.
My protest didn't work. I was so angry.
Oh, okay. I misinterpreted that. I viewed it as a supportive
Well, you didn't read
thing.
the signs.
That's on me. That's on me.
Westboro gave them to me.
Okay, so let's thank you for
Voicemail
that.
it.
And I do think we should start a segment every week where you apologize to me. Because I do think, like, one is nice. It's nice. Is it 20 years worth? 40 years worth? Not really. So we'll get there. Okay, so I pulled a few voicemails. I do want to say that the voicemail has a limit at 3 minutes. And so
people have been exceeding 3 minutes.
Grant,
that is,
as gay people,
it's a hell of a
we get to choose our
voicemail.
family, and we get to talk to no one on a phone. Okay? And yes. But like, I'm not saying that judgment. Listen, if I was given a 3-minute warning, I would have to practice for that voicemail. So you have two options. You can either practice, or there's a couple people where it just cuts off at 3 minutes. So if you are someone who told a really long story, if you wouldn't mind calling back and maybe telling the second part, or just retelling in a quicker way, maybe do it in Spanish.
Can finish it. We could finish their story.
That's true.
They can start it. We can fill in the gap.
Well, most of them are queer people, so you are a pastor. You can determine what would have been better for them, how to end that story. So that's perfect.
I know. I know how the story ends. Hell. That's how their story ends.
And I thank you for that reminder. All right, so let's go ahead and just... okay, how do I do that?
Hey, Darby and Grant. I don't know if to call you Drew or to call you Darby. I'm a big fan of the show. I'm very excited to have another evangelical podcast on the wave. I wanted to ask you, at what point for both of you did you stop trying to, like, square peg into round hole your belief into your actual, like, thoughts and, like, everyday life? So for me, I grew up very, very Catholic. I'm, like, ex-Roman Catholic, which is, like, kind of a different flavor of baggage, but a lot of baggage similarly. And for the longest time, I was, like, as a gay person trying to, like, figure out, like, how do I justify my beliefs with what I want to be as a queer person, as a gay man? Like, how do I want all that to fit together? And then at some juncture, I was just like, you know what? I'm done trying to justify this against each other. I'm over it. I'm just going to live my life and go from there. At what point did that happen for you? Have you stopped doing that? Are you still trying to do that? Like, what does that kind of relationship? Also, anyone else who's looking for a good evangelical podcast, good Christian fun is another great one, and I would highly recommend it.
Don't promote other podcasts on this one. Don't do that.
Yeah, that was messed up. Honestly,
how dare you?
And that's on me for allowing that to happen.
How dare you? That's ridiculous.
They didn't say their name. Thank you so much, gay person.
What are we going to call him? Catholic?
Roman, obviously. No,
Roman. My favorite
that was so nice.
Succession character.
I love when
really
gay people say, same, girly. And that's what Roman did. Thank you, Roman.
Thanks, Roman.
Let's start with you.
Yeah,
because I'm gay. Okay. Okay, this is complicated. And Roman, I know you've gone through the same thing. It honestly was not a conscious decision of like, I'm empowered. And you know what? I don't believe this bullshit. And I'm not a bad person. You know, like I didn't have that for a very, very, very long time. What
I still haven't seen you do that, but
well, eventually one day, listen, on one podcast, bullshit. This is me so hard. No, but it was honestly when I was in college, Mississippi College, Southern Baptist College in Mississippi, that we chose to go to. Strange.
It made sense for me to go. Didn't make sense for you to go necessarily.
I thought if I went to a Christian college that God would change me.
Oh, that's fucked up.
I know. I thought I still feel gay, like, and I'm becoming an adult. That's not good. Because I had been praying and I did a lot of crazy shit.
But you ended up just going to Mississippi Closet and just going to town on them Choctaws.
Absolutely. And apologies to the Choctaw Nation. Mississippi College should not be using you as a mascot. Yeah, so I ended up going to Mississippi College as like a Hail Mary, although we didn't believe in that whore as a Baptist.
Mary, yeah.
But I just thought, like, if I go to this Baptist college and maybe I'm not trying hard enough. Maybe I just need to go to church more. I need to, whatever. And spoiler, it didn't work. And then at the beginning of our junior year, I got a strep infection in my wrist that was super serious, and I had to drop out of school.
Super serial.
It's very serial. And so I had to drop out of school. And honestly, it was that. I was laying in my childhood bedroom, unable to do anything for myself, with my grandmother, with mama, like watching Judge Judy. And I'm just laying there and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I almost died. And you
would have gone to straight heaven, which would have been so boring for you.
Exactly.
Like, it's just a Budweiser commercial the whole time.
It better not be Bud Light, I'll tell you that much.
I'll tell you what.
But I was like, you've lived your entire life thinking, like, you chose to further yourself around these people who hate you, and you've been living in this fear of hell. Just get away. I don't think at that point I was ready to say that hell wasn't real or any of that. That's
right.
Growing up with that's like a cult mentality that takes a long time to get rid of. But honestly, my thought was, you almost died. You're miserable. Just try life further away. Just try life somewhere else. See if you can be
all the way to Kentucky. You were like, I got to get out of here.
Grant.
So you went from Tennessee to Kentucky.
I went from Jackson, Mississippi, which was 3 hours south of Memphis, to Bowling Green, Kentucky, which was 4 hours northeast. So that is a lifetime. And
if you're on horseback,
which I was,
to get to Kentucky,
no, but
they don't let cars
was like, hey, I'm just gonna go and I guess like see if like I could be gay in like a public college, like see if maybe that'll work. And I didn't come out when I first went to WKU. I think it was like an entire semester before I finally told like my friends at that college, one of them being Jennifer Hunter from our childhood.
What's up, Jay Hunt?
Hey, Jay. I think she listens. Hi, Jennifer.
But What's up, Jennifer?
Harlan now. I apologize. Yeah, it wasn't until I had been living there for a little while because when I first moved there, I still tried to find a church. Like I thought there was still something that could be done. And then, it wasn't until I had been away from it for like a year that I finally was like, okay, I'm not gonna worry. Of course I worried, but I'm not gonna live that life. I instead took a very destructive path from church. I sunk deep into a sex addiction, and just my 20s were really, really hard. But that was my escape, you know? Like, that was the only way I knew to get out of it, to get out of that.
Well, you didn't have like safety. Like, of
None.
course you went self-destructive, because where else were you going to go? You're going to go home? You're going to go to your family? Are you like,
Yeah.
I mean, no, you didn't have any safe place to go. And I there's a pretty self-destructive streak through our family, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it obviously it was in our father, but it runs through me in the same way. So, I mean, it just makes sense. If you don't have a safe place to go be broken, then you're just going to
be broken
get
elsewhere.
more broken. Yeah.
And then when I finally, I gotta admit, it was not until, 5 years ago, maybe, that I finally came to the realization that it's all made up. Like,
during the Trump presidency.
Yeah. No, but
that was it.
It was truly like, I was still in Chicago. This was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, not that long ago, that I didn't live my life, my adult life, thinking that it was all 100% real, but I definitely feared it. I definitely still had that fear of, you could still burn for eternity. You could, you know, like, so it wasn't until 5 or 6 years ago.
Just to put it in context, like, for our London listeners, for all the people who grew up secular, we were children. And on a regular basis, on a nightly basis, we talked about eternity. We talked about what happens after you die. We prayed about it every
We prayed and cried
night.
at the age of 6, begging God not to burn us alive.
Please don't kill me.
Yeah.
I know you love me. Please don't burn me forever. It's
with our parents being like,
fucking
you have to
crazy.
do it. If you don't do it, you'll burn forever.
It's fucking crazy.
So I didn't live my adult life in the church or really considering much other than, I'm too far gone, I'm too far damaged, I'll never be a part of this family, I'll never be a part of, you know, whatever. It was time away. I know that a lot of the people who at least watch IMHO are younger, and I know it all feels very overwhelming, and it's so immediate because you're still in it, and there's nothing like time that can get you out of this horrible cult bullshit. It truly, time is the only answer, I think, and I rest my case.
I think it's that control thing of like, yeah, there's fear. Like, that's how they controlled us, was fear. And so there's always in the back of your mind, but what if they're right? And so you take a step away from it and you go, okay, the shoe didn't fall yet, but maybe it will. And you take another step and you're like, okay, is it going to hit me now? Eventually, you take enough steps and you're like, oh, there is no shoe. There was only a sock.
There was only
lies.
a no-show sock.
A no-show millennial sock.
I love a no-show sock, and if you don't like, shut up, Gen Z.
I don't wear them anymore.
You won't
Not
even
me.
see. You won't see 40 at this rate because of global warming.
Yeah.
No, but can you imagine? Can you imagine? Walking up to a 6-year-old and saying, "You're old enough now. You understand now. So if you don't pray and you don't mean it, then you could burn in the fiery pits of hell for all eternity." Can you imagine telling a 6-year-old that? That's psychotic.
Yes. So I baptized
Oh yeah,
children.
I guess you did.
When I was a pastor. But listen,
groomer.
But listen,
Groomer.
their parents would like, that was like the thing is like some of them had to like come talk to me. Like, we got to make sure our kid knows what they're doing. And I would never be like, you know, Jesus died for your sin. You know, like I was like, this doesn't feel right. And so instead I would just be like, don't you know he loves you so much? Yeah, cool. All right, yep. All right, they're in. Let's dunk them. Like, of course they don't know what they're doing. Of course, you know what I mean? Like, but if we're going to do it, I don't know. Again, that was the cognitive dissonance I was living with. Like, that was this doesn't feel right, but I think I have to.
I remember the man that when we were ready to quote unquote be saved, the man that we talked to was Bruce, our parents' friend, lawyer, who ended up having like a 15-year affair with his secretary and just ended up being a total piece of shit. But that's the man that's coming to us as 6-year-olds and saying, do you want to be saved? Jesus died for you. Are you going to do the same?
Yeah, it's wild. It's just wild. I mean, it's just like...
Have you heard any of the music from Six, the musical on Broadway?
No.
It's good. They take all the wives of Henry VIII and they make like a girl pop group.
I'm familiar with the concept. of the show.
It's so good.
I just haven't heard it. But
anyway,
I think
now you answer.
What complicated it for me was my entire life was wrapped up in it.
Your existence.
Like who I was wrapped up in it. I wasn't Grant. I was Pastor Grant. My parents did introduce me as their son, Grant. This is my preacher son, Grant, is how they would introduce me. It's who I was. It's who I was to everybody. It's what gave me meaning and purpose. Also, it's what paid all of my bills and provided for my family. So,
can you pay my bills? Can you pay my church bills? Can you pay
I really can't now.
bills?
I don't have money. I don't have a job. So for me, it wasn't just I need to deal with these beliefs. It was, who are you going to be without these beliefs? So there was like an extra layer on top of it. So honestly, it was a process of, and I've said it before, I think I said it last week, it was those last 18 to 24 months of being a pastor where I started to trust myself. I mean, I think I've told you this before. I mean, your wedding was a huge thing for me.
Huge for me too. Oh my God.
No. I don't mean like that. I mean, in the context of what we're talking about, again, trusting myself. Like I was like, this is good. Drew and Curtis are good together. This is a good thing. This is something I want to celebrate, and I'm very happy that this is happening. I don't what the fuck's wrong with this? And so honestly, it was just a process of trusting myself. And so when I would see things that I was like, this isn't right, and having kids will change you a lot. And so like,
I remember my first
that you abandoned.
The kids state forced me to abandon. But go on.
Well, you were only 12. My kids, like, they're getting older. Now they're getting involved in the church. And I don't want them to think about hell. You know what I mean? Like, and then, like, I don't want them to have all this pressure on them. I don't want them to have shame about their bodies. I don't want them to have shame about who they want to have a relationship with. I don't want them to have shame, they watched a movie and their dick got hard. I don't want them to be like, oh no. I mean, because that was the world we grew up in, right? Mm-hmm. Like that was the world.
If you felt any sort of urge, that was your fault and you're evil.
Our youth pastor bought us a shit book that he personally paid for it. For like hundreds of teenage boys. And it was
made a shit ton of money at a megachurch.
That's true, he did. It was called Every Young Man's Battle. And literally that whole book was like, stop fucking touching your dick. Like that was the whole book. It was like, don't look at women. Don't you fucking look at women.
And I never did again. Again.
It worked for you. It worked. But like, don't explore your own body. What the fuck? And the patriarchal side of it as well, like, because we had my wife at the time was on the same trip. My wife, she was being scolded by Phil's wife because she wore a top that was like gold, and she said it drew too much attention to her chest and she was causing us to stumble. So the problem is not that I'm looking at her, that what my eyes are doing. The problem is Angela's obviously enticing me because she wore a shirt that's fucking shiny because all men are cats. And so, like, anyway.
To be fair,
it's all
men
fucked
are very
up.
simple. Men are simple machines.
We are simple. But it was just all super fucked up. And I didn't want my kids to have that. I didn't want them to have that experience. And so it started to make me go like, well, what is this? Like, I don't think this is helpful for anybody. And so just honestly, that's what it was. And so looking into people I trusted, it honestly started with a Bible scholar who very much is still a Christian and probably fits into the evangelical world somewhere. But he's a true Bible scholar. And so he's like, guys, Genesis is a myth. Like it's a creation myth that ancient Hebrews would tell, because that's how ancient people talked about
understood the
purpose.
world.
How they understood the world. It's a myth. They knew it was a myth. It's a myth. Jonah wasn't a real person. No one's getting swallowed by fish up here.
What?
Noah wasn't a real person. Like, and so this was coming from a Christian. And so I was just like, oh, I can still be a Christian and I can like believe more rationally. Then I moved on to other Bible scholars like Dan McClellan, and I was like, this makes a lot more sense. And honestly, it was just trusting myself. It was just really trusting myself.
I love Dan McClellan. I remember sending him to you a long time ago. I was like, here's a video. This guy's really helping me unpack stuff. Sorry if this is an overstep. And your silence was loud. And I thought, like...
Well, Dan McClellan fucked me up. Like, I was...
You didn't say anything. I was like, oh, God, I'm in trouble.
Well, I was watching his videos, and I was just like, yep, that makes sense. And then I would even I would have conversations with other pastors, with other church leaders, and be like, I mean, right? you know, and their answers would be like, but no, but why?
Yeah,
because no,
because Bible.
And so it's just like, well, I guess I'm gonna stay in this world. So yeah, it was just, honestly, it was just a process of like learning to trust myself and the experiences that I was having, because that's what the church wants to do. It wants you to not trust yourself. It wants you to trust them and them alone.
And you know what?
The end.
You did, Grant. You did for so long, and you did great.
I did.
And
I was so
Jesus,
good at that.
And God said, you get to heaven, and Jesus get to heaven, and God said, well done, my son.
That was nice.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of Twinnuendo.
It's been really long. It was a long one.
I know. Maybe we do voicemails like earlier.
Yeah.
We have a ton of voicemails. I'm just excited for you to hear them because some of them are pretty funny.
Okay. How about next time? Yeah, we'll start with a voicemail. We'll kick it off.
Okay.
And pick a funny one.
I can't do that.
One
I can't promise. Grant, you
won't
have
bum us
built
out.
this bed on Bibles, and you must lay in it. Okay,
It's
it's
very
not
bad
always
for
going
my
to be
back.
comfortable. Also,
No.
before we go, real quick, I wanted to respond because Roman said I don't know if to call you Darby or Drew. That's been a common thing. I don't care what name you call me. I use my boy name, my out of drag name, Drew, here because it's disconnected from Darby in my mind. However, Darby is like, she's my identity. So if you know me as Darby, call me Darby. But if you're just now meeting us, Darby would make no sense to you. It would be super weird for me to be like, hey,
weird.
I know you don't know me, call me Darby. So yeah, you can call me Drew when I'm out of drag. If you ever call me by my legal name when I'm in drag, I will hurt your family. Not you.
I've seen him do it.
I'm going to hurt your family. I'm going to make you
He follows
watch.
you. He gets your license plate, tracks you down. It's fucked up. You
I'm
can call me
very good at
Grant.
that.
If you know me as Pastor Grant, why are you watching this? You can call me
They
Reverend.
hate watch it. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for being.
See ya. Bye.
yourself.
Thank you.
God, we're so good at this.